Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of From My Spinner Rack. This channel, if I haven't mentioned it before, it's going to differ greatly from my regular channel because I just grab 5 random comics out of my spinner rack and give a not so much a review as an overview of why I like these comics, and maybe you'll like them too, and order get the back issues at your local comic shop. Gene Colan, after he left Marvel, he went to DC, and wisely they put him on Batman. And the interior art is Gene Colan with Klaus Janson. Now, see that rim lighting? That's usually a sign. It usually indicates that Klaus has colored himself as well as inking. But Adrienne Roy is doing the colors, and she's really good. I mean, he was in good hands with her. Let me put it that way. Got that rim light going, and it's just, you could tell that Gene's really enjoying himself. And there's Jason Todd crying over his parents' death from a circus stunt. And I hated that. I don't know if they retroactively changed that, but what are the odds on your parents dying and you're at that same age and then you become one of the Robins? I hate that. But they changed it. Also, his hair, he dyed it black when he was ready for the big time. I would love to ink like Jansen, but everyone pencils so dang tight that sometimes jobs are tracing jobs. And hey, we got us some Green Arrow by Joey Cavallari, Paris Cullens, and Pablo Marcus, and Nancy Houlihan. I don't know who that is. I love the name though. It almost sounds like a fake name, like a pen name. But that's so great. So great. And you know, Green Arrow, at this point, he didn't even have his own mini-series, and he didn't have a series period. He was always like one of those characters in a 10-page story that would be in a 100-page spectacular. Moving on. Amazing Adventures featuring the X-Men. Around 1979 or 1980, Marvel really tried to go back to the popular reprints of certain books, and monthly reprints were really dying out for whatever reason. But they had Amazing Adventures, which had the X-Men. They had Tales to Astonish, reprinting Submariner, and they had Fantasy Masterpieces that reprinted Silver Surfer. And I picked a few of these up, but I just don't think they went over well. I can't remember how many issues these last. This lasted about 8 issues or so. A new cover by Bob Budiansky, and I love his stuff. What's funny though, at the time, there were 17 pages to a book, which was really kind of shitty because it's like every other page is an ad, But thankfully, shortly after this, 5 more pages of story were added to the books and really gave you your money's worth. What's funny, this is like part 2 of the original X-Men story, and it has a cover drawn to kind of fit as if it were another chapter, because it's splitting a book in 2. Because I couldn't put 20, it was like 24 pages this first issue, and see, more stinking ads. I love here we go. Gotta untuck my wings. And the first time I ever got the impression of how his wings would actually work was in the Neil Adams era. He had this huge wingspan, but it made sense. Wow, that's so cool. So, yeah, like I said, they're padding it. They also used Lonely Are the Hunted. This was a backup a series that was in X-Men in the 1966-67 era, and it kind of gave you before the X-Men stories. So I like it. I like it a lot. And like I said, I have these in other better formats actually, but hold on, let me get a sip. Okay. Teen Titans. they're back at last. This is, I know I keep saying, this is the comic flood the shelves competition between Marvel and DC at this time. And that even says 30 cents. A lot of books bit the dust when 30 cents came along. So we have the same team from episode on my other channel, except Mal, who doesn't have any powers. He becomes the Guardian. The man who toppled the Titans. Paul Smith and Bob Rozakis, writers. I have to clear this out. But make a statement before I say anything. Paul Smith is an excellent writer, but in the first year or so, he was pretty raw, and this isn't like the greatest stuff that represents his talents. And when he went over to Legion of Superheroes around 1980 with Keith Giffen, it was wonderful. Bob Rozakis, he was a guy who worked at Marvel, who he would do these articles that were informative about comics. Oh, and here's a trope that Paul threw in because Levitz, that is, because you always had this. There was always an argument, like, here comes Speedy, who is the sidekick of Green Arrow, and she gives him a kiss. I love that pose, and everybody's pissed off at him, and she's not meaning anything by it. It's just that he just showed up later, and she was pleased to see him. It was a surprise, but you always have to have the guys fighting over the girls. Like the girls don't have any say in it. I always thought that was weird in movies, how there's two guys going for one girl, and eventually the girl picks one, and I'm like, how do you disconnect from the previous person? Because it's just so odd. It's like, oh, now I'm gonna be with Jean. It's like, I'll say goodbye to Helga or whatever. Whoop. Genie lives on his back. There's the hawk. And so this exoskeleton, Mal looks really good in that. Designed by Kirby. I don't know if the inside exoskeleton is, but what I don't get though is after this is done, he doesn't wear it again. I mean, why not keep it? He just goes back to being Mal. He should have been like the Guardian. Okay. Oh, yeah. This is great. This is one of those things where a great Gil Kane cover suckered me into buying this. I love that grape-colored background. How many times do you ever see that color in any comic, pretty much? I don't. And it's by Tom Palmer. And this, the mane is astonishing because it shows you like motion. It's like a stop camera thing where it's very fluid. And granted, there's still images on here, drawings, but it's like, wow, that's got so much energy in it. And the cover is great, but the interior is not so much. Allow me to be disrespectful, but it's written by Gary Friedrich and Dick Ayers and Vinnie Coletta do the art chores. Ghost Rider, he changed his name to Knight Rider because they came up with Ghost Rider who had the flaming skull while this book wasn't being published, and now they had changed him to Knight Rider. And I'm sure all the public, all the people who worked at the office were thrilled to have to go through these books and change the lettering. So my only hang-up of it, here's what I don't like. Everybody is way down low to make room for a lot of conversation, and that's a bit of a cheat, but it's at the time, comics didn't pay well, and it's like the more you did, then you did better. Like, here's a perfect example. Yada, but like they're way low, so it's kind of like he drew it, and I don't know if Gary Friedrich did full script or not, but it's just unremarkable, I guess. And I apologize if I'm but I like the tarantula. It's pretty cool. No relation to Spider-Man's foe, the tarantula. And Ghost Rider has these neat little illusions that make his head float, make his body float, but it's just, he has one side of his cape is black and the other half is white, so he just does some quick, whipping around his cape, and it's kind of goofy, but I loved it as a kid. That's the thing I love, but, this is not very, see now, Dick Ayers also drew the Knight Rider in the 50s, and that was excellent stuff. And this book reprints the 1967 revival, which was really the only reason they did it was because it hadn't been used in a long time. Maybe Marvel hadn't used it in a while, and they needed to maintain the copyright. So this is from what is this from? Ghost Rider 2, yeah, from 1967. So I bought it, and it's like, so now we get down to X Factor number 39. I had dipped out of X-Men way before this because so many crossovers, so many books, and I lost interest because there were a lot of tropes that Chris Claremont kept putting in each issue. But I love this cover, and I bought it because it's such a gonzo, wild, rushed cover by Walt Simonson. This book reminds me of what the guys at Comics Kayfabe say is like a weekend job, because you'll see how fast and frenetic Walt Simonson's pencils are, and there's no backgrounds that you have to freehand. You could freehand everything in this book, pretty much. Because, they're among some ruins, and I don't know what the ruins are, but I mean ruins, not runes. You see what I'm saying? It was just basically banged out. But I bought it because of this. This reminds me of, there was a Herb Trimpe issue of Iron Man that kind of got banged out, and it still looked great. It's just a neat challenge. For some reason, Simonson decided to blacken Wolverine's mask and face, but it looks cool. It looks cool. Mr. Sinister, I never liked him. I always thought he was kind of, if that means anything. See, here you go. And the most you have to do is use a ship curve or a French curve to just pull that off. And that really doesn't take a long time at all. I would have loved to ink this. Al Milgrom did this. Sniff. Really, really neat. But you see, there's no backgrounds. It's all figures and faces. I would love to ink somebody like that. See, it's just boiled down to essential storytelling without having well, there's the end, and we're all happy. Who wrote this anyway? Oh, I think it was Louise who wrote it. Louise Simonson, that's right. Anyway, that's all. I'll talk to you later. Da 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 da.